everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. It is episode 35. It's your boy HSR.
It's your boy Chris Chrome.
It's a lady from Bonnie.
And tonight, what album are we reviewing?
Well, for this week's Classic Quest album, we're going with the Pharcyde Labcabincalifornia.
All like glued together as one word.
Is it Labcabincalifornia?
No, it's not.
Is it
They
Labcabincalifornia?
They say it on the album.
You know, it's out of control.
It's not that out of control.
Labcabincalifornia.
So I've never really listened to these guys before at all, much.
Nope. I found out about them last week in the group chat.
I kind of saw them on a list once upon a time when we started this, so we went back to that original list, and I was
Once
like...
upon a time, not long ago, I was a hoe.
Okay.
No?
And then...
That's your song.
Anyway, so we...
Carrying on.
So we chose this album, and we decided to run with that one.
Classic Quest, guys.
Because part of it is to go through all those different albums and to come, stuff we've never heard of is a lot of what's on that list. So
Yep.
I know I've seen this on the requests, and then there's a bunch of other requests we have lined up. So don't you worry, lots of you.
We're going to get to it.
At some point over time. For now, it's the Pharcyde's. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say on this one, honestly. So
It came out in November 14th, 1995.
Which is cool because that's exactly 21 years before this channel started. So that's a fun date.
Okay.
November 14th. Good times.
Sure.
Since we don't have a lot to really say here, why don't we just move right on to the cover and the title and whatnot.
Fair enough. What did you think of the cover?
It's just the four of them looking classy, standing there. Kind of like a spacey background.
I think they're trying to be different in terms of where they are in the era. In 1995, a lot of gangster rap was coming out. Not very frequently, but it was the main music at the time. And they're trying to be different. So I guess dressing up in suits. It seems here like they're kind of in like a yellowish suit. I think that's just the coloring. I'm assuming they're white.
What?
I'm assuming the suits might be white.
Okay.
But I think that the coloring of the album.
More of like a beige off-white color.
That as well.
A nice 1995 color.
I feel like it almost has like a throwback to a more soulful feel to like an old-timey album cover with this.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
Like I don't know exactly what kind of music, but like 20 years prior to this, you could see a bunch of album covers like this. I like the name Labcabincalifornia. It just makes me picture them holed up in a cabin somewhere making music.
Yep.
And it's fun. And then this is the result of that holed up in a cabin experience.
But what's the lab?
Like the music making place.
It's the studio. It's
like
when people are like, I'm in the lab, it's like I'm in the studio.
It's like where you cook up the music.
I understand like a sciencey thing, and I don't know.
It's because the music is a sciencey thing, so it's the lab. Where you cook up the formulaic materials of brilliance and success and all that. And this is their lab. And in the cabin in California is what I took. Anyway,
okay.
I don't have a lot to add to this. So, anyway, there's a fair bit of songs to talk about.
Remember, guys, if you want to be able to skip through whatever song you like, you can always click more, show the description, and pick whatever song you want to listen to about it. We are going to run through it. Just wanted to make sure that was clear for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like for them as in them. Anyway, so Bullsh-t is the first song. This, I don't think I've ever listened to J Dilla much before, but I know he's a renowned beat maker, and here he is making these beats. And honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect with this, and I was pleasantly surprised. I find that the rhyming is well constructed. Each of the guys kind of comes off different in the same way that like Bone Thugs has so many guys, so there's so many unique styles together.
Yeah.
They're able to put together these tracks that just kind of feel alive, and this is definitely one of them. Basically we got Slim Kid Trey on this. Booty Brown?
Booty Brown, Slim Kid Trey.
Imani, I believe, is the first guy with kind of like the slower one at the beginning.
Yep.
Imani's kind of verse is like, we're back up in here, we're making new music. I feel like that second verse has me picturing kind of like, it's almost like the whole thing's an epiphany in the making. You can tell right away that these guys are very like almost the more nerdy intellectual sides. At least what I took, like very poetry driven. Like, it's almost like they're not gangsters at all, which was definitely interesting because they come off with very complex wordplay.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to stop and go, wait, what the hell did he just say?
Yeah.
And then when you really think about it, it actually turns into making some sense.
Lyrically, they are proficient and they know how to convey certain messages and certain meanings with their metaphors and their punchlines.
Well, like,
I don't think there's that much hidden like messages though. I think it's
No.
like pretty straightforward.
It's
Well, they got
straightforward,
stuff
but it's
like-
very intellectual.
Yeah.
Like if you're not at
well, you got stuff like now no ends and her ass was sprung, used a little tongue, but believe I'm well hung. So lesson learned, well learned for all you club hopping hoes. It ain't about the stardom and it ain't about the dough. So, and I like that because in the, I believe each verse kind of had its own unique point, and that was I think the third verse. I could be wrong, guys, about which one. And that one kind of has an ending with this whole story where he goes out with the girl and then takes her home like that.
Yeah.
And just kind of presenting this context where it's not really about money, and they're not really about flashing. They're not really about fame. They're just kind of about going about their own lives and doing their own things, which is
party.
They're very chill though.
But it's not so party as it is chill. Like they're kind of trying to go out
Not
about.
party, dance. I got a lot of dance music feel to
Well,
this. A lot of wanting to groove
If I
and
understand correctly, they started off as like dancers and moved into rapping, and I could be wrong. Please correct me. I
can correct you.
Call
It's a
myself.
fact. That was my fact.
They did start off as dancers, so I stole your fact.
Yes.
Okay.
move. Yeah, I do might recall hearing her say that 20 minutes ago. But
But I feel like across the board, it's like each person's taking this general idea of purity over materialism. So the things that motivate them are clearly different than what's motivating a lot of the rest of the industry at this time. And if I'm not mistaken, this is when there was that huge divide between like more of the underground, more pure side of hip hop versus the mainstream, flashy side of like wealth and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I guess they're just kind of putting their stuff in and they're calling bullshit on the different things that they see. I really dug this. I thought the beat was super well constructed. Like,
Yep.
J Dilla's beats, I don't know. I've never heard one before. I don't know if they get better
And
or
there's
worse
like a
from
sample
here.
of Get Up, Stand Up by Bob Marley that's in there. So they take a lot of samples.
But it's
But
just
that,
that's
like,
also
you've
that's
heard.
also
like,
part of hip hop back then though. Like back then there was a lot of sampling.
But
from
it was
different
more the
tracks.
way he put these things together. They're done in a way where it creates a groove. Like often, this general sound is not my favorite, but I feel like there's an exception to be made here because I almost found that on every track that he was on, in particular, there was this certain sense to the way the beat captures you, where even without the vocal work, you could just sit there and listen to that instrumental almost on a loop.
That's
And it
interesting.
catches you in a vibe. And maybe I was just in the right mood when I heard it or something, but I
Maybe.
found myself almost like, because if you really focused, it's either they're really constant, but the groove is so solid, or there's all these little changes and stuff. I found like it was almost it was just interesting. It's like the beats themselves were just different than other things we've been touching lately, at least. And
Nice.
But they mentioned that they're working with like a new sound and that they're kind of like testing it out, I guess, and like
But
this
it's
is
still
how
the
it is.
same as who they are. They're still gonna be who they always been.
I gave this one a 4.25. I don't think it's like my favorite track ever because it's still a little bit out of my things, but the rhyming is tricky and complex. They definitely have really skill. They keep it like alive in it. The wordplay is alive. It's just a preference of the beat thing. As much as I respect and admire the talent behind it, it's kind of like I have to be in a mood to listen to this kind of stuff. So it's hard to really shove it to the top end. But
Definitely.
I really respect and admire this a lot, and I'm already encouraged to listen to the rest of the album.
Cool. I give this one a 4. I thought it was a cool sound. Like there's still things that question about it, but like what exactly is the bullshit that they keep talking about? Like I feel like there's like
Materialism.
yeah, I feel like that's what I was gonna get to. I'm like I feel like it's mostly like materialism and like money and stuff like that. So I just wasn't sure, but I don't know. It's interesting because I mean they're gonna make money off of this, so.
But I feel like it's a matter of they want to do this because they want to do this. They want to make music. It's a matter
It's
of like
not doing it for the
Well,
money.
I think they also want to get out of the hood and like they see that this
yeah.
is like that their
But-
opportunities are
okay,
limited.
but the difference is between the guy who does it to like create the art and just wants to make the music he wants to make versus the guy that lies and does whatever and copies styles to make a quick buck, right?
Yeah.
So often in the pursuit of authenticity, you're not going to be trend hopping quite the same way, etc. I would say that it's more what's in your heart and your soul in your pursuit of it. Like, I do believe on the album at some points they acknowledge that money is part of it, that it is part of a business,
Yep.
but I think what they're trying to establish is that they're not interested in the bullshit as much as possible. They want to be, like, real.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
That's what I took from it.
What did you give it? You gave it a 4?
Yeah, 4.
I actually ended up giving this song a 3.5 on 5. It's not bad. The production on the beat is great. I didn't feel the proper vibe. I guess the vibe just didn't hit me with it. I felt as an intro track, for me, it wasn't really as hard, or as hard as an opener.
But I don't think it's like a concept album, so it's not like
I'm not even talking
this
concept.
is the beginning,
Like,
and I think I think
I'm
it's,
not even talking concept. Like, I'm not even talking concept. I feel like, again, this is the first time I hear them. So for me, like, this is the very first time I ever hear this. So everything could be a little strange, all right? Like, that's why I'm not saying it's like a 2 or anything. I did give it a 3.5.
Yeah, but what do you mean by hard? What are you expecting?
I didn't get that. I didn't. You know what I mean by hard is I could listen to this and not really want to listen to the rest.
Yeah, but
honestly,
like, I'm just saying this is definitely not a genre where anything would qualify as hard.
Right.
I'm gonna
let me take that back. I don't not hard. It wasn't a song that if I heard, like, when I heard it, I was like, okay, this is cool, but it didn't really pull me in enough to want to listen to the rest of the album.
But why?
I don't know. I didn't get that polished feel in them coming back. I know that they stated they're trying a new sound. They're being who they are. Again, maybe I don't know them. Maybe I don't know what exactly they're about.
I know, but
That's fair.
but for me, it was like when I heard it, I heard this crazy beat work that was just insane, and these guys.
I'm not discrediting the beat. The beat's great.
Man. I was also just struck by how literally not gangster it was, while still maintaining everything else it was supposed to be. For me, it was pretty interesting and fresh. I don't know. I would say you should give it another chance, is all I'm trying to say.
I will. Well, like, look, throughout the album, I do start to understand a little bit more, and we will get to that. It's just, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. As you understand it, then you put that same context on it, and maybe you see a little different.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. Because for me, as far as an opener goes, this is who we are. Right? Like, or what we're about, which is really standard of a lot of albums of this time. It seems to be one of the first 2-3 tracks is going to be a lot about what you represent. And then, especially when you get it following up with what's clearly the posse cut with Pharcyde.
Right.
I took from the ace that this is the posse cut, like I said a little bit before.
Yep.
It starts with like this little conversation between this girl and one of the dudes being like, yo, I heard something on the radio that could have been you guys.
Well, no, she actually thinks it's them.
Yeah,
she's asking them about the new
That's what I
track.
was trying to convey. Yes, I think she says it more specifically. Yeah. And he's like, nah, man, we haven't put anything out. What are you talking about? I mean, what they're implying there is, yo, check it. All these people are now copying our sound, because this is actually their second album. They already had that first album that came out a few years prior.
Yeah.
Right.
Which maybe we should have started with. Oh, well, it's somewhere. Don't worry about it. And then, so here they're kind of establishing this is what the real Pharcyde sound kind of sounds like. And I have to say that right away, I thought about it, because it's a pretty sparse little conversation that's underlaid the beat and whatnot. And it was really well done. It really executes and takes like what otherwise may have been a cliche song where everyone is kind of introducing themselves and gives it this little overtone, almost justifying the need to have this song. And that little bit really impressed me enough to be a little bit like excited for this track.
Nice.
Anyway, otherwise, then we got Booty Brown. We got pretty much the other guys. So I believe there was somebody featured on the other track, and I wasn't clear and sure about the actual lineup, but I believe it's the guys that are like shouted out on this chorus, which is what Booty Brown, Slim
Slim lips.
Well, no, that's the four. That's the four people.
Fat lip.
Fat Lip, Booty Brown,
Slim
Imani,
something Trey.
and Slim Kid Trey.
Slim Kid
that's
Trey
it.
and Imani. That's it. And they all have their verses here. I thought this line from Booty Brown was particularly dope. So let it be stated, couldn't fade it with an edit. And Xerox MCs are pathetic. They trying to duplicate, but they coming out synthetic. And I was just like, you know what? I don't care what anyone says. That's some good fucking lines right there. Because it's like, it's clever as fuck. And it's using language I haven't particularly encountered before. Like more office language, which I appreciate as an office guy.
Right.
Then there was Slim Kid Trey's dropping, well, it's apparent. There are so many are transparent. You can't believe your eyes when you're staring. It's ghostly and mostly the wise. Yeah, they run the game before your eyes, too. And it's just kind of like calling out a bit of the, like, the fakeness around them and stuff. But the way they word it and phrase it, it's just, as much as it's so obvious what they're saying, the way that they actually choose to express it is, to quote Chris Crum here, really creative. And it really is. I'm duly impressed listening to how they have chosen to articulate themselves.
It's like dork rap.
A little bit, but not in the way that Ritz would call it. I mean,
yeah.
these are just kind of like, I feel like these are the guys that were really smart who just happened to be rhyming. And I like, and for me as a really like super smart guy, it's fun to hear this kind of language used.
It's different than your everyday song that you listen to.
And then I felt the outro was a little bit long with all the shoutouts and stuff. Now, it's not to disrespect it. I mean, I feel like the beat's excellent again. I don't know that Jay Dilla did this one, but
No,
it's
it
still
was
kind of...
produced by Booty Brown.
Which I noticed something. Like, they're almost all involved in production along
Yeah.
the way, which I think is truly spectacular. I feel
That's
like...
true.
It had a very similar feel to the one Jay Dilla did.
Yep.
I don't know if it was better or worse per se, but it was really
I
cool.
like this beat a little bit more than the last one. It had more of an aggressive tone to it, but again, they are kind of stating their...
I feel like I like what Jay Dilla does a little more because let's say that outro part had come in. There's at least one that Jay Dilla did with that crazy long outro part. It's just smoother. This one, it kind of bothered me more. I'm left with a 4, but I still like it.
Fair enough. I also as well gave it a 4. I think that they all stand up to each other very well. They all have different flows. Slim the Kid, I love his voice. I'm right off the bat. I love that guy's voice. He has this way of pronouncing certain words with the technique of his voice.
Isn't it Slim Kid Trey?
It's Slim Kid Trey, yeah.
Did you say Slim the Kid?
Well, maybe I said Slim the Kid or Slim.
That's okay.
My
Keep going.
apologies, but Slim Kid Trey, that's great. That's great. So yeah, other than that, I liked it.
What
Nice.
did you give it?
I give it a 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Nice.
I also gave this one a 4 on 5. It's just about their new sound and, you know, like how great they are at MCs and that they're better than the rest and, you know, other people are copying their sound.
Which
But
is
for me,
probably
like
true.
this, like the sound of this song made me think of the Beastie Boys. So who's copying who? Is more my question.
Maybe they're paying homage to.
Well,
Because they do like. They do have like a bit of a Beastie Boys influence.
They sampled the track.
But
At
not
one
in this
point.
one. And then this one just made me think of the Beastie Boys, just the way that they were sounding. So, you know, I mean, it's around the same time. Like, they're getting influenced by other people and, like,
But
other
I
flows
think
and
it's,
other...
It's, I don't know. I mean, I can see that there may be influenced by, but the sound of the Beastie Boys is very different than the sound of this.
I guess so.
I would say, like, these guys are faster, trickier.
But, like, I think just the way that, like, their flow was or their voices were or something made me think of the Beastie Boys. And that was even before I got to, like, the drop.
Which is fair. I mean, I'm not seeing it personally as, I mean, so directly. I believe
Well,
that
I mean,
they're...
yeah, obviously they were influenced by them somehow.
I almost feel like these guys can do things the Beastie Boys can't.
Well,
Is a little, but I mean, I might be wrong.
We have to come to terms that music is inspirational in
But
terms of
I
growing.
feel like there's a
so-
difference between like drawing influence between somebody and then literally copying a style. So like,
Oh, no, I'm not saying that they're copying them. I'm not. I'm just saying
I
that, like,
believe
the
that
sound
that's
of their voices
because
were kind of similar, like, in that
just
sense.
to say that, because I believe the comparison you were trying to make is they're calling out people for biting their style, and you were implying a little bit that they bit the Beastie Boys. So I'm saying,
But, like, maybe it's, like, a subconscious thing. Maybe it's not, like, they
Right.
didn't know that, like, that's what they sounded like a little bit.
but I feel like it's a matter
Yeah.
of the transformative side of it. Like, they clearly add to what the Beastie Boys did, whereas other guys are just apparently biting their shit. That's all I'm trying to say is there's a difference.
Okay.
Anyway, so next up we have Groupie Therapy.
Waiting on cars across the border. Make sure my rhymes in order, cause that moment could be near, and it was not.
I definitely thought this song was going to be about something completely different.
You were hoping.
I wasn't hoping.
What exactly were you thinking it was about?
Well, when I saw Groupie Therapy, my first thought was that they were the therapy for the groupie, which is one way this song could have gone, I suppose.
Right.
Now, what it ended up being is they were watching some TV, and they came across
You hear
this
them
guy.
like channel flipping, and they're just like hanging out on their
literally,
couch.
one of the guys is like, "You're going too quickly through the channels," which I thought was funny. And then they land on this guy who is like, "I will give you therapy for your bad groupie experiences, and you can call this number," and then it flows into the song. So again, they managed to create this fun little context justifying this song that isn't too over the top with like a 90-second fucking skit or something.
Yeah.
It's the little theatrics right there at the beginning, which I found almost endearing. And then each guy's verse is them calling this guy on the TV, talking about their their version of like a girl that hurt them in some way, because you can hear at the beginning, and our first caller is Booty Brown, I believe is who starts it off, and it leads into the song, and then it's just fucking each one of them does their own story. So I wrote them all down here, I hope. Then one of the little things is one of them wants to play Madden as they're in the little channel surfing, which I thought was funny, because even back then, that's what people wanted to do. And they're like, "No, can't spend all day playing video games. Yo, I'm going to call up the band." Which it was really funny. I really enjoyed that little, because it just felt like a bunch of guys chilling. And the way Bonnie would put it, like they're a bunch of pals.
Well, they do sound like it, and they are, I think, like in real life.
You can see that on the cover,
Yeah.
That is interesting that you got that. I guess my fault for not being able to pick that up.
Then Booty Brown tells a story of being broke and how girls didn't want him, and then he got rich, and now girls want to fuck with him, but he can clearly tell they want to play him, so he's not going to get his heart broken. Slim Kid Trey basically kind of makes it sound like a girl cheated on him, unless I misinterpreted that. Fat Lip has my favorite one. He kind of tells the story of how he has this childhood sweetheart he's been with for fucking ever, and then he goes on tour, and as he's popping, he realizes he's not going to be pure and faithful like he promised, so he calls her to break up, smashes the girls, comes back home and finds out she turned into like the neighborhood hip-hop girl, and it's all his fault, and he has lines like, "Oh, I guess I got myself to blame for turning her out into a hip-hop freak. Now I see counseling from a therapist twice a week." Like, when do you hear about the consequences of this shit so realistically? And it was just like, it blew me a fucking way. I really enjoyed this.
When you say hip-hop freak, what do you like?
Like a video girl, like the whole therapies from Kanye's new workout plan.
Well, I think that he also says that like the women who are easy or the women who are losers or winners end up being like losers because they're too easy and like nobody wants them anymore, so they're just like losers and just like what.
Well, I think, and then Imani had a verse that was also there, and I didn't write as much clear. Kind of like he seems to be questioning why everyone has to be fake about this shit.
I kind of got that they were like, in terms of groupie therapy, I kind of got that these guys were sleeping with the groupies. And in a way, they had to give therapy to the groupies in terms of, like, letting them down, like, yo, I ain't gonna be around. Like, this ain't
how
gonna work.
did you get that from those lyrics?
That's
I'm
where
just gonna...
I kind of just, when I was listening to it, I was reading the
Did you listen to the words?
I listened to the words. I read them.
I didn't realize it was them like calling
stories.
in.
No, but I
that part's cool. But
I didn't realize it was an actual. I didn't realize the TV.
Like Fat Lip tells like a whole story about one like particular girl.
No, I'm not saying multiple chicks. I'm saying like everyone has their own story of this own experience. I didn't.
Which is but. It was more, I guess I'm not, like, anyway, I'm just saying each one was a specifically fun story for this phone call. I gave this a 4.75, mostly because there is that little 25 seconds of phone call that, as endearing and charming as it is, I don't want to hear every single time.
Fair enough.
But otherwise, it's pretty fucking excellent. It's way deeper than I was expecting, and at this point, I was like, wow, this is, like, fucking like, I had no idea what to expect going into the Pharcyde here. And this is, like, right up there with some fun fucking, like, deep shit I wasn't expecting. I'm excited.
Fair enough.
All right. I like the sound of this one. I thought it sounded all right, like, but still, like, consistent with, like, the others in, like, in that sense. I also gave this one a 4. So far it's been 4, 4, 4.
Nice. I also gave this one a 4. I think that generally and overall it's a really good track.
That's okay. I think you should recheck this out, Chris. Maybe you'll appreciate it more.
Maybe
your marks will start running to the top.
Respect I used to never get, cause all I got was upset when it used to be like,
Oh boy, it gets good again. Honestly, Jay Dilla is insane. This beat is fucking next level. On top of that chorus is just the running and running. Like, it's fucking nice, and it just comes in. And you can tell that these guys have, like, this power to move you with this music, with that. Then they come into some stories, right? And
well, like, what, life is hard in high school, but, like, you can't run away from it. You have to go back the next day, so
but
you have to
it's
deal
a
with
little,
your problems.
like, more than that, right? Because when you go into what happens into the stories, right? Like, Fat Lip's like, nobody taught me how to fight. You know, I tried to dodge that shit. I had to learn how, and nobody really liked me. I didn't understand why. Like, what did I do? And then, yes, to like, the end point of, yeah, but I had to learn how to fight and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then Slim Kid's story is kind of similar, but, like, involves a little more. I could have died over, like, violence popping off, and still, at the end of the day, had to learn how to do what I had to do. And then Imani takes it in a whole different direction of fame is hard and I'm going crazy and I don't like being a celebrity, so you don't want to be me. I can't keep running away. And
well, I think it just goes to show that, like, life is full of stresses and you can't run away from your problems, and like don't sweat it. Like, you just have to deal with them and then move on. Like, it's going to be another problem another day, and that's just going to be it.
I mean, what I like here is how they have, like, a proper blend between, like, singing and rapping in their voices.
I like how they harmonize.
Yes.
They have a really good... they're really great at syncing together when it comes to harmonizing. I think that each and every one of the artists have this ability when they're telling... Like, I know that every artist has their own style, their own flair and everything, but I feel like when they're going into their own stories, there's even more to it, and that's what I got from their verses on this. Like, there's things that I felt like there's things they left out on purpose to give you this type of, like, imagery in their verse.
Okay.
So I was just like, yeah, they're not just running away from like Fat Lip when he was talking about high school. I felt like, yeah, okay, this is basically him getting bullied, and I mean, it's kind of their Fat Lip. I'm not trying to judge, just he does touch upon the fact that people did make fun of that as well, and he didn't understand why and all that. So, but I feel like he left out certain parts on purpose for us to have this image of what else could have been going on. What other things did they pick on him? Slim Kid as well, when he was talking about the violence, I was like, I had like images in my head of other things that he had to go through without him actually touching upon it, just the way he flowed through his verse. And the one after the pause, I forget who it is after the big pause. There's a pause in this song.
It's Imani.
Yeah,
It's Imani. So. I didn't really think that was necessary. I think that he could have just went in and gave us his flow. I think the pause was a little dramatic for really nothing.
It's a matter of song structure, because that pause in music gives you a chance to let the message of what you previously heard sink in, right? So you have to understand that this is a matter of good song composure. And the purpose of a chorus or a bridge or a musical refrain, it has a purpose. And when your message is dense and you're trying to let it sink in and you're about to shift the lyrical theme, it has a point that's a little bit more. I mean, he could have just done it, but he also...
I feel because it was like a build-up to something hard.
Because he brought... It was, though. It was saying that, like, this... Because, like, if you look at it from a time point of view, you have them as young people and showing some of their youthful struggles.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to write this down. I wrote this, like... Because, I mean, you're describing the way they rhyme, but it's like, it's examples like, and as a victim, I invented low-key till the keyhole itself got lower from me. So I stood up and let my free form free. So I'm going to get some before they knocking out me. And it's just the way he uses these words. Like, so many rappers sound lazy when they rhyme like that, and he just makes it sound beautiful and artful. And anyway, so then you've got all these horns coming in, and it was, to me, that was one of the most impressive parts of this beat. It was the way they managed to splice in this almost, the horn itself became a vocal track of sorts of Jay Dilla as the beat maker flossing for a minute here before it kept the horns through Imani's beats, adding and transforming it into a better experience, because this track's almost 5 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So if they hadn't done something like that, your criticism would have been, man, they didn't even change it up and blah, 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 blah.
Fair.
All I'm trying to say is, to me, that was this was a 5 to me. This is a masterpiece of a fucking song.
Let's go 4.5.
And lyrically, the way it switched into like the growing up version, the kind of stresses they're dealing with, the fact that they have to almost use those skills from childhood to cope with today, how it still feels the same. I feel like there was so much to this one little song here.
Wow. All right.
Did you give a grade?
I gave a 4.
4.5.
Nobody else got more to say?
Well,
I think you said everything. I said what I
like,
needed to.
either than everything you said, I do like how they I like how they explain their message of not being able to run away from the problems. I hear a lot of people being direct about it, being very hostile, like kind of just in your face, telling you can't run away. I like the soothingness of how they explain that. It's like, you don't have to yell at somebody. You can talk to somebody to get your message across. And instead of, yelling or being aggressive with it, they're kind of like, they're, what is it? I guess consoling you. I guess like comforting you, consoling you, kind of just being there like, you got this, but you can't keep running away. And
Yeah.
Fair.
So that's really, I'm tapped out with this song, man.
That's okay. I am so excited to talk about She Said.
What did she say?
Searching for a remedy. Now she loves a man, but there is just a different type.
One totally took me a minute to wrap my head around. Like, I had to puzzle over this song because I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
What were you hearing?
This track is basically about how it's okay to just spend time with the chick without fucking her.
Like, I think she
mean,
friend zones the guy, and then so
yeah.
like they just become.
Yeah.
But he's like, okay. I mean, they clearly go into both these circumstances with a desire to get laid. I believe Slim Kid Trey starts us off, and he's laying down to Mac in a seductive way. I think it's him who goes, I guess everybody needs somebody to love. You can't leave lonely because being naive to it, you can just can just lose it like that. She kisses for bruises, don't make it heal back. I'm like...
But I think that means that she's been hurt and, like, she has physical bruises, and that, kisses aren't going to solve anything.
Well,
like,
I feel like it's the other side of the
I thought it was more emotional bruises, but still, the fact that they're writing these kinds of... Like, who writes like that? This is fucking dense.
Exactly. I feel like they're expressing the other side of the coin. I feel like a lot of times you get... Okay, what I took from this song is that there are girls out there who just want to be friends with dudes and not have to, like, always think about, this guy wants to sleep with me or this like that. They just want to chill, relax, and kick back. And a lot of the time when you listen to music, you always get how the guy feels. I don't really hear a lot of music where the guy acknowledges how the girl feels in that and kind of plays with that.
See, I feel like this is more about how the guy feels, acknowledging to a situation upon where the girl reacts in a way that doesn't go as planned. Normally, the guy gets the girl in this song.
Like, she just needs that comfort from a man that isn't going to hurt her.
And so, like, in the first verse, it kind of plays with this idea of intellectual stimulation. So there's more than one kind of love. It's not about physical love. It's like when you meet that person and all of a sudden you're just like, wow, and you just connect on this intellectual, magical way and have a moment.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it kind of alludes in the first verse that this leads to cheating, but then kind of goes into a
that's
chorus.
That's where I got confused because there's a part where
the second verse is super clear. He doesn't go with the girl. In the second verse, he lays it down. He rolls with his weed sack, meets the girl.
Right.
Goes home.
But there's a part where I forget which artist, but they mentioned that they were having the conversation with the girl, and she was like, "I'm doing my own thing." And then right before the chorus, where in the chorus or it's the hook, it goes like. I forgot, but something about she wanted me to stay, so I granted her that wish and I got like she didn't want to be alone.
That's the chorus.
Okay, right. So in the chorus, I got like she didn't want to be alone. She wanted that type of company.
I mean that's what it's driving home.
But in most songs, and what from what I'm trying to say is in most songs it would be like.
Well, no,
like
in most songs it would have that chorus, but the different result is that she needs the dick. And in this kind
No, what I'm trying to say is that most guys would like the chorus would be different or maybe the same, but the guy's trying to get the dick, trying to give the dick at the end of the night. Like this is the guys being like, yeah, I'll be here if you want to just be company.
I mean, you're literally that's what I said.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know what you're anyway. So yes, that's what it is different about this song is that they are okay with not fucking the girl as we
they kind of get like rejected though, and then then he's like, you know what, it's fine. Like he like wants to stay in cuddle and she wants that, and
I like how Fat Lip or whatever. Yeah, he's almost like I know I'm gonna get laughed at by the boys for letting her come back here and not even hitting that in the morning.
Yep.
But you know what? I'm actually going to enjoy the experience of doing it because they don't like make it sound like it's bad. They make it, okay, it's not what I expected, but this is also good.
Like she's obviously hurt. She doesn't want to like, go to bed with this guy. She's probably hurt from some other man or whatever.
In the first
emotional
verse,
bruises.
She's hurt. In the second verse, it's just I'm not that kind of girl.
Yeah.
And either way, but it's amazing how in like '96 you have this song almost about consent, saying like it's okay to let her say no in those moments and then still have a good time.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty respectable and amazing as a message. I think the song.
But that's what they say in the other song when they when she says that like easy girls are kind of losers in the end, and they want good girls, they want like these nice girls, and so that's obviously what they're interested in.
Willing to be good gentlemen about the situation, and they're willing to give back. I mean, there's so much respect here. It's so different than a lot of other hip hop we've encountered, and it's also not like shitting on it. It's just kind of like representing their message to the best of their ability, being hip hop about how they sell their point. I give this one another 5. I also thought the beat was sick. This track was amazing.
Cool. I don't know which one it was now. When he tries to do like the Snoop Dogg kind of stuff, when he's like Plizace and like the Fizzace. I think it's Fat Lip.
Yeah, I think it was Fat Lip.
Yeah, and then so like it's just interesting, like that he's trying to like draw inspiration from him as well, and so like there are like lots of inspirations that are like found in like all the songs pretty much.
Well, they are all West Coast, so
yeah,
that makes sense.
I like this one. I gave it a 4 on 5 as well. I just like it. I like that like these guys are just like, okay, yeah, I may have gotten rejected and I'm not having sex, but I'm still having a good time. I don't just have to leave and kick the bitch out or anything like that. Like he's like, okay, we're gonna hang out then. That's fine.
Yep.
Nice. I gave this song a 4.5 on 5. Everything's great about it. The only thing that I have is just I'm not down for this sound.
Okay,
I can objectively see that the beat is great. I know that they're talented. I see that. It's just me personally, I'm not down for this
respectable opinion. And then Splattitorium.
You know what time it is. I'm down with the P-H-A-R side.
I got a lot less to say on this one, but to be fair, it's a little bit different of a song. So here we have the admiration of marijuana and its loveliness. Now, what I do give this song credit is how it's almost like he's like, yo, I'm so into the weed, I'm getting the weed. And then it's like he kind of gets high halfway through the song.
Yep.
And then the whole rest of the song is like he's daydreaming and wishing about these things. And he's just kind of repeating it over and over again. And it's got this smooth almost melody to it. And it's okay. It's just... like
it's
after
sort of like it gets lost, just like his thoughts, like they just kind of
And I mean, listen, from an artistic front, it's mad dope and it's really cool.
And it's Imani, right?
I believe it's Imani.
Yeah.
And even
like
from
him.
a placement perspective, it's really great because we went through all this kind of almost serious stuff, and here's something kind of fun and spacey to bring you along a little bit. But man, I just don't really like weed songs so much in general. It's not really my cup of tea. It's well made, and I love what they did with it, so I'm giving it a 4. But I'd probably end up skipping this one more often than not.
Yeah.
Even though it does have a nice vibe, it's just not my favorite.
Yeah, I like this one. It was okay. I ended up giving this one a 3 on 5. About smoking weed and that, they have nice things in their house and they just want respect from people and other sort of things that just kind of got lost and fluffy up in the air.
Which was clever. Like, it's a clever song
Yeah.
compared to some of the other ones. In terms of other weed songs, I mean.
Yes.
I'll listen to any weed song as much as the next guy, but I gave this song a 3 on 5. It's good. It's produced well. It's somewhat catchy. Just the little faint beat in the background is somewhat catchy, but there wasn't much to it. I would skip this every time. Like, just personally for me, I would skip this every time.
You know why? I think I know why. Did you give it a grade?
I gave it. It's a 3 on 5. For
Awesome. It's because this song isn't necessarily something that means something.
Hey, nigga, you better think twice. Gotta kick something that means something. Something that means something.
I love it. It's just so amazing. They just
It is
want to write
everything
songs.
that you stand for.
If they just want to write
Yeah.
songs that mean something.
It's true.
I actually wrote, I can relate to that.
Oh, look, now he's on the relatability.
So Booty Brown.
He couldn't play ball, so he rapped instead.
I actually can relate to that. So statistically speaking, fun facts. If you look at the NHL, I'm in Canada. It's relevant up here.
Yeah.
Pretty much 95% of them are born between January and March. As a result of this, basically I was born in November. I statistically stood no chance on top of only being 5'7", so I had to pursue other endeavors like talking to you guys in front of a camera. On that note, this song's fucking great. So Booty Brown
It
starts
just
us
shows
off.
that there's just not many choices in the hood, and like these are your options. You can rap,
Well,
or you can play
it's
basketball.
more than, it's more than options.
Hold
It's
on.
more than
I think there's
options,
more
and
than
it's
that
more
to
than
it.
choices. So
Yeah.
it's
I
about
think
actually
it's-
fighting for something that you believe
Yes.
in
I think
for yourself.
again, each one of them has their own take
Exactly,
on this core subject.
exactly. It's not
So,
just
like,
one thing.
Booty Brown's kind of tripping about the business side of it all and how he wants to just spit real, but like there's this realization of the struggle between now it is more complicated versus not. Slim Kid Trey's verse was really fucking cryptic, kind of looking at life's mysteries. I wasn't sure exactly what to take from it. Fat Lip's verse is literally about how he loves rhyming and he puts all his time into rhyming. Goes as far as to
Lyrical
tell us
storms.
how while he's sleeping, he formulates some rhymes sometimes.
Well-
And I don't know. I like this song again. It's not necessarily as to quote Chris hard hitting as some of the other ones, meaning it didn't necessarily
Well,
have
actually,
as much
I'm
of
gonna
a
argue that it is hard hitting.
for me, not you. And I didn't necessarily like think it's a 5 material. I gave this one a 4.25. The beat's a little
fair.
like it's good. It's a little more out of my interest. The subject matter, as much as it's super interesting, is really about hip hop almost entirely.
Well, okay.
And that to me is not something I listen to so regularly, albeit how they did it is particularly good. So something like She Said or Running, where it's about like real subjects, is more appealing to me, not you. And as a result, 4.25 is where I land. It's better than like a good song. It's pretty fucking good, but I'm not gonna go as far as to call it great.
Fine.
Okay.
I gave this song a 4.5 on 5. I think that it's I think it was made well. I think that the beat is captivating for me. I got really sucked into it. I like the message. Internally, I like the message, and I like how each individual artist has their own thing that they're fighting for. Yes, collectively and universally, it's all about hip hop. But I think individually, they're all coming at it with their own thing.
Agreed.
And it's right. Like, you want to take it that you want to talk about options. Fine, we don't have many options. Some of us don't. You want to talk about chances. Not all of us have different
I don't necessarily
chances.
see the options message.
I'm just saying, like for anybody who wants to take either one point, you can. No hate, but I think it's more or less just trying to let people know, like, when you're gonna do something, there's gotta be a reason to do it, and you have to find the reason to do something.
Well, I think like there's a reason to do this and to like make this kind of music and make something that means something in a rap song is particularly for their people. And like that's something I think that like one of them says that this is for my people.
Yes.
And so like, you know, people who listen to it, people who are getting messages from this, they want something that's going to meet something. It's going to maybe, like, alter their life, alter the way of thinking a little
bit. You have to, like,
just
consider what was the alternative message that was on the radio when you have people basically telling them to waste their money and to do foolish things.
Yeah. Go shoot people, whatever else.
Yeah, so
done,
here they are, like, look, I'd rather rap about something that means something. And I agree with Chris that it transcends into make sure that whatever you're passionate about, that it means something and that you're not just wasting it. And you're right, it does kind of address some of these things in that really question, like that second verse where it's a little more questioning the choices and options available to people.
You know, and like to people at that time and that place, you know, where they're from, everything. So I think that it does show that there are, you know, they want to make something that's going to make you feel something.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I don't have much more else on this.
I gave it a 4.5.
I gave it a 4.
All Live is next. So this was short. It felt like a little interlude.
It is
50
an interlude.
It didn't sound bad.
It kind of sounded like an Islamic call to prayer.
I felt like it was
bit.
a little funky, like they were just getting excited, almost maybe in a jam room or something. It was a nice little break. I didn't do much for me. I gave it a 3.5.
I gave it a 2.
Gave it a 2.5.
Oh, come on. It actually had good production.
Okay,
behind
it was
like,
produced well. It was produced well. It had great sound. It was upbeat. It was lifting. We're all alive. Yay!
Yeah. I was just like screaming.
I just look at it like when if it's true and everything you said on the last track and it's to give people some call to hope in the middle of the darkness.
Yes.
I'm honestly saying that I undergraded this track now, and based on it all, I didn't even catch the All Alive thing. Yeah, no, this is a call to hope. It's a little just short little something. I think it's brilliantly placed. I like it a lot. I don't think it's aimless. All these things do have a purpose, and sometimes you do want a little interlude in your album between songs again to like serve
it a
the
little bit of
purpose
fresh
of
air.
creating a break. Maybe you're trying to transition the theme or something. Anyway, so for me, 3.5 still.
All right, let's drop.
Rockabye, baby. Listen to your heartbeat pumping to.
We got that clear Beastie Boys sample, that drop that
Yeah.
doesn't go away.
Yep.
Ultimately, the song kind of has two parts to it a little bit, right? You got the part with all the verses, and then the part where you go on a plane ride and you coast around and you can see Labcabincalifornia at the side of it. And this song's a bit of a fun experience. I truly enjoyed it, actually.
Well, the message is very clear. They're
It
calling
sounds
out a lot of fake rappers, and they're calling out a lot of the... even they're calling out the real rappers that are saying... I'm going to say fake messages, but it's not fake messages. It's like, spend your money, do this, do drugs, shoot people, blah, blah, blah. All these negative messages that were portrayed.
And like they're selling their souls for like this music that they're making. And it's just...
I don't know. I'm so impressed by how they do it, right?
No, of course.
Because I know that we're saying we do it, but they're dropping lines again like, look through my will, my flow still will spill.
Did you
toxic
notice?
Slick to shock sick like electrocute.
Did you notice
like,
that they were doing it in terms of how we see it? Like I didn't catch that they were talking about how they see it. I always felt like every verse that was dropped on this song, every artist was like, this is how I think my fan sees it. This is how I think my fan perceives your music, and that's why they're making this decision. And the way they were dropping lines, I should have wrote them down.
I mean, I don't necessarily see how it's all that different per se than the average guy who's dropping the same version. So I don't understand how you're getting that perspective twist.
Because I don't usually get that perspective on a lot of the average.
This is a good idea why you should write down examples of what you mean so we can all fully comprehend the message. I was just impressed by how tricky they are, how they're really good at plugging in extra syllables, flipping up words, reversing the order.
Well, they even like in the song, I think itself, they like remix the sound, like the sound of it, like with like backwards. Like with the song going backwards into it. So it was interesting. And it was just about like sellouts, basically, like talking about rappers and stuff like that.
Well,
and
not
like,
just sellouts. Not just sellouts. Like,
what else is it about?
Well, it's also about the decisions. They were acknowledging that like kids make decisions based on what you're telling them.
So By selling out your message.
But I'm talking more about the fans listening, that like me and per se, like
right,
the way I dress, and the way I think, because of what I see on TV.
Are you
and
saying
stuff.
that the core message of this song is that these guys are selling out and giving bad messages to their fans?
Okay, fine.
I'm just gonna say, is that what you meant by the
No.
perspective of the fans thing you were trying to explain?
I guess
before?
to simple it, I feel like because in my head, it's a little more complicated. But I guess to simplify it, yes, that's
But
initially what it would be.
what you're saying is that the words you say have an impact on your listener.
Yes.
So don't sell out because your message should be pure, like we think. That's kind of what they're going. Anyway, I like what they're going for. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, this one was made well. It was really, really cool. And the music video was directed by Spike Jonze, which was interesting because he's, he's known for like all of his creative work. And like the way that he filmed it, it was a lot of like back and forth. It was a lot of backwards motions. There was a lot of like
videos in backwards.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it was
for the
it was
parts
pretty
that
cool.
are in backwards, they actually hired language coaches to learn how to save their lyrics backwards, so that they could do it more authentically during the filming.
Snap! That's cool.
So
Yeah.
it's not actually in backwards so much as they just.
So like everybody's just walking. Well, I guess you can see it
And
because
you can see like how good of like I mean obviously I think only 2 of them, I don't know if they all were like dancers, but some of them were backup dancers for like other groups and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you can see the energy. Even
Like they're
talent
good,
and
they're
control.
talented.
They actually I looked it up. They actually jump onto the vans.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like they actually, it looks like they kind of float with things. I'm like, no. They, if you see their legs and the power they have, like they actually jumped on top of the vans and
Yeah,
sat on
they're
the
pretty
roofs.
cool.
Okay, fair enough. I gave this a 4.5 on 5. I thought
Yep.
it was a great song, great feel, cool
Yep.
experience. I enjoyed the airplane part a lot more than I thought
The
I would.
bit at the end, it sounded like a character from South Park.
Fair.
I don't know which one it is. I can't think of it, but he definitely like the voice at the end just sounds like South Park.
Okay.
Anyways, I give this one a 4.5.
Yep, so did I. I gave this a 4.5. I think in terms of bringing up a very general message that's been spoken about a lot, the way they took it and handled it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Hey you. Is what's next?
Take up a moment and clarify what's for you. Because of my high.
So this one seriously has more blessed lyrics. Like there was one line that just struck me, it like hit me hard. But fools be trying to write friends to make friends. And it made me think about the way that everyone's trying to force themselves into networking situations and oh, you gotta know this guy and it's just like, wow, man, you've taken the organic nature of friendship and just raped it dry. And like it just stuck with me. I haven't stopped thinking about that line since I heard it.
Shit.
Then there was the overall song is kind of just like them dealing with fake people and how friends are and how the world is around them. And it's got lines like, because of my high altitude, this attitude of this one dude was just so lewd that he was viewed as rude and pursued by the side. And
Yeah,
it's just,
it was pretty good.
Ooh,
lyrics.
And
wordplay
like,
on point,
if
guys.
you'll notice, it's like consistently like that. Like they compound these rhymes. It's just that there might not be.
They understand syllables. They understand how to take your
And, like,
ears and your brain on this
often, like the
syllable
first
journey.
line, I'll be like, and it's coming in all super tricky, and then just flow into something a little
like
bit
kicking it.
more.
Hey.
Anyway, it's really fun. I really dig the message of this track. I dig the way they come through. The beat's got what it is. On the other hand, I don't know what else to really comment on this song because it's been consistently fucking great for me. This is another 4.5 on 5. I know this was quick, but it's a pretty cool song. It's like calling out fuckers who are just, again, more on the fakeness, but just on the subject of the regular relationships in their life and their regular interactions with people. And it's just so human and normal, and I love that about it.
Go.
I feel like it was just like people, like maybe like the people of color, the black people or whatever, like they're feeling like the extra pressure to like having to do certain things. So I think that he's like concerned with that, but he's just like, hey, you, like redefine yourself. Do what makes you happy. Like, don't do what everybody thinks that you have to do. Like just, hey, you. Like, it's like a message to you.
Yeah.
And like for me, like it felt like it was out of this world a bit. Like it sounded a bit spacey and like all that kind of stuff. But I like this one. It had a cool sound to it. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Nice. I gave the song a 4 on 5 as well. I think that, again, the message that they're making is very clear. They're very creative on how they present these type of stories and their experiences dealing with these situations. The only thing that's getting to me now is I've noticed that Pharcyde has a particular sound. I think it's mixing. I think the mixing is what it is, vocally and the instrumentals, because the sound on this track is not the same as the last one. I'm not saying that. Obviously, they're two different beats. Mm-hmm. But the overall sound of what I've noticed, everyone kind of has this not generic, but this sound that they have. I can't. I don't,
yeah, like literally, that's what they said in the beginning of the album.
But like, I think I'm getting a little. Oh, with that sound, I'm thinking like
I already like expressed that you weren't that into it in general earlier on. So I'm personally fucking loving it still at this point. I don't think it's boring at all. And you got to keep in mind too, right? If they're the pioneers of this sound, and you got these 17 tracks here that they put down, let's say 15 real tracks,
right.
And you got to keep in mind that. What do you want them to do? Go bite somebody else's sound? Nah, this is like you put together your project, all your songs.
You're right.
And like if you weren't having kind of a consistent mixing or whatever, it wouldn't feel like it was this Labcabincalifornia experience. And so far, I'm actually saying everything makes sense for the project. Everything fits. Everything feels like it's congruent and it flows together. Yeah, they might have maybe that's not the most perfect album in terms of like everything, but I'm just saying that what you're calling a detriment, I'm saying it to me a mark of a pretty good album, and you just don't like the sound of it.
Fair. Although I do know that this song is good, and I do, again, objectively like this song.
Anyway,
4 out of 5.
Nice.
Why you gotta be like that?
Like that. Tell me why it's gotta be like that. Know why I said it. Hear me clear.
So, this has them all kind of questioning stuff.
Well, they're questioning people's actions, why people do certain things. They're also questioning why certain events happen in life and why we got to go certain things. And it's cool how they leave it open to answers. They don't really try to answer certain things. They just question it, give an experience about it, and then here, you figure out the answer on your own.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they're a little more pointed and intelligent than that. So, like, take Fat Lib's verse. It's another one that I really focused on in terms of specifics. So, yeah, there's clear answers in the questions is why it happens. It's more cautionary-wise, I feel, than just leave it open.
He tells a story about
his friend who wanted to be a rapper. He comes down he's from Wyoming. He's from nothing, right? Whatever, it's all safe. Comes down here, starts hanging out with the gang so he can learn the culture and learn the language, and then as things are starting to pick up for him, he gets killed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like those kinds of whys. I mean, yes, why does it have to happen? It shouldn't is a very big open question, but with a story like that, I feel like it's more, if you consider the rest of what they're saying on this album, if the other role models were spitting different than other people, it kind of, we wouldn't have.
So it's like relating back to like,
I feel like there's a certain degree
and like some of the other like verses are all about kind of like, I mean, they have cool rhymes in this one again, like it's great. But I think that they like say like don't depend on anyone because like everyone's gonna backstab you and like don't really trust people. Like they're sort of like giving you warnings, like life's hard, life's a bitch, like like these are warnings.
And like it's because like to me it's a great. It's almost like these are the different things that were on their minds this particular day, and they were venting out the frustrations of they looked around and saw different struggles of what's going on.
Why is life so cruel?
I mean, for me, this track's gonna like come down to a 4. I'm not as hooked and ensnared in it in general. Like, I don't think the chorus is one of my favorites. It's also a bit on the longer end. It's over 5 minutes, so I'm gonna roll out at a 4. But it's still an exceptionally good song, and it fits well with the project.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I give this one a 4 as well. Like I said, it was good. It wasn't great, but it was cool. Like, they had just like a lot of questions, and that shit happens, and then you just have to kind of like. There's no answers to certain questions. It just happened, and that's it.
But you're right. I think it's more like that. Like, you're right that there are unanswered questions. It's more, I don't think they're trying to like leave it so open-ended in the way airy. It's more.
Fair enough.
This is the darkness.
Fair enough. I gave it a 4 on 5. I don't really have much to say about it. I feel like it did what it was supposed to do. It is lengthy, but I think that giving it like a break and just kind of giving you a second to think about certain things that happen in life. I get it that there is a certain atmosphere that these guys are coming from in terms of their verses and what they want to explain, but it still doesn't stop the listener from thinking like, you know, there's certain things that happen in life. Why are these things, like, we're bringing this to light?
Yes.
Cool.
Anyway, it's all good.
Everything's all good.
Baby, baby, it's all good.
I fucking love this song. It's really good.
What?
I don't understand how, like, after all this time, after all the defenses you guys have done of the most ludicrous and absurd skits and interludes, these ones that are particularly and well placed to just give moments of, like, hopeful respite. It's like, you should be loving them because they're all the happiness and bullshit you're always going for.
But it's not. It's just.
It's a composition of a choir of their voices coming together, just in the, like, you can almost picture them on the street, fighting in, like, the corner on the rainy day after questioning all this stuff, and then coming to this point of, you know what,
follow-up. It's
all
also
good.
about album placement.
And then if you consider what comes next, as we'll get to in the next track, it's a break, again, from the negativity and serious themes that get explored. But they chose to, in their moments, it's to say deep down inside,
but it's to look at it as an individual and as like a mix of, like, on the album itself. So for me,
not so much.
You know, it's like if you look at it individually,
not so much, because
there's
a difference between a song that's just dropped.
Yeah.
And then an album that comes out. This wouldn't be a single on the album. This
I know, but like
like,
it's like if you were to listen to each song
as an individual skit, this is really well composed. The harmonies are well constructed. It's layered in a great way. I'm just not seeing how this failed. This has effort put behind it. I mean, like, to me, this is in the higher end of, these are really well planned out interludes. It's better than some of the, like, I mean, compare it to, like, Biggie fucking Lil Kim on a, like, bench or whatever. You're seeing, like, this has some, like, real, genuine heart and soul behind it. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm confused by how you guys don't like it as much as how you don't like it as much as, anyway, I have 4.5 to me. Perfectly placed, really well made, and it was exactly what it's supposed to be. A short little, it's all good before we move on.
4 on 5. 4 on 5.
And you?
1.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
Whatever.
Like, I started at a 3.5.
It's fine,
and I was
it's fine.
like,
Mine, I
whatever.
started at
But
a
then
2,
I
and it
really
went
took
down
a
to
second to think about it, and I was like, no,
Okay,
this is...
whatever. Moment in time is the next song.
My aunt Dorothy was the lake. More beautiful than the word, it was like killing a mockingbird. She was so young.
Like, it, like, flows right into this track where we deal with, like, accepting the finality of death and that all those around us are dying young and like, whatnot. Like, I don't know. For me, like, this whole experience has been fucking crazy. This one, it feels it's shorter. I think it's only one of them that does the song, and he does the verse, and he's kind of describing Trey. He says it. They say it in the song. It's not me. I'm just giving respect to the dude. And, like, he's kind of describing first some like, bright young guy he knows who dies, and then some girl he knows dies. And it's like he's just kind of accepting and realizing the finality of death and what he can do with it. And
Life is just a moment in time.
It was,
You know?
and then, like,
just like that little
beat,
bit.
Yeah, it was really well constructed, well made.
Well composed.
I give this one a 4.25. I don't have a lot more to add. It kind of feels like this album is exactly what it should be. I think the placement is exceptional, following up that little skit where it was so positive-ish and so kind of uplifting to, like, lead into this understanding that, like, of what death is. And it's true, because when you can understand those kinds of things, it is all good, and it's like you can navigate through the waters of it. And I don't know, I really enjoyed this anyway.
All right. Like, for him, it's just like he's talking about that, like, family is important, you know, that he's talking about, like, those who have died, and, like, you can definitely feel, like, his pain in it, this one, but, like, as well as, like, where, like, he's looking at life and he's like, this is just what it is. It's just going to be like this, and it's just a cycle. It's just going to keep going. So for me, I gave this one a 3 on 5.
All right.
I gave this a 4.5 on 5. I think throughout the album, listening to Slim Kid Trey, a lot of his experiences have been very violent, been very dark. And the ability that he shows, he's showing that he's come to the realization that like being surrounded by death that much really makes you value life a little bit more, and makes you really want to, do something for a certain reason. And he really conveys that in terms of capturing the stories that he wanted to tell you, and now he's realizing like we need to do something with us because we could lose it at any moment. So
True.
4.5 on 5.
All right, so next up is The Hustle.
First you see a flash and then you smell smoke.
Notice that he doesn't like Siskel and Ebert much. With Siskel gets paid to sit down with his thumb up, asshole, watch cash flow take a downfall when your shit not on the ball. And then I sit here as we are reviewing his album, and I go, thanks, buddy. But it's okay, because some do it illegal. Brothers just want more than their equal. Try not to get caught up in the evil. This goes out to all my hustling people. Just do it. This song is pretty fucking interesting. It's just like, wait, the Hustler anthem on this album?
Well, it's a hustle anthem in terms of, it's not your average hustle anthem of like go out.
They
shopping.
brought in some friends who had some of that.
Yes, I'm not saying that they weren't there, but they also have the other hustle where the 9 to 5, the legal job, go out, make your money, do what you got to do, make your music,
I appreciate that. I just felt that in general, everything on this album has been pretty distinct. Like maybe not the Dev song, but most of it's been pretty distinct in terms of content and fitting. Mm-hmm. And with this song, they almost sound a little bit more like everyone else. And I respect what they're saying, and I'm not saying this track
I thought that
shouldn't
this
be
song
here.
sounded a little bit more like De La Soul, like in like the sound of it. Like they sounded a bit more like them. And, like, that was, like, my original, like, like, it made me think of them. Okay. And, like, it goes to show. And then I looked it up, and then, like, their manager was the same manager as De La Soul. So I'm wondering if, like, there was some sort of influence on that.
Well, I know that Q-Tip and J Dilla were friends, and I believe that they were all kind of collectively.
Well, but Q-Tip was, like, always around De La Soul, so.
So there was definitely some 6 degrees of connection linking them pretty close over there. I like this track again, but for me, the idea of this hustle track in the middle, and again, you're right about the hustle. It wasn't explicitly that, but it was almost like they had to bring in some street cred to validate the song.
Hold on. I don't think it was just to validate the song. I think that it being the smart intellectual artists they are, I think that they really kind of went out and did, and you know what I'm going to relate it to? Kind of like the Lupe Choppa song on...
Yeah, but I didn't...
Like, you have the guys, gangsters there who are like, yo, this is what we do, we in the hood, da-da-da-da-da. But then you also have, like, Lupe who does Lupe's thing, right? Mm-hmm. On this, you've got the gangsters who are talking about the gangster stuff, and then you've got the...
That Chopper song is incomparable. That Chopper song was like a bunch of guys, and they brought the gangster guys in to talk about how easy it is to get a gun while continuing to discuss gun laws over.
Right.
I mean, it's incomparable to me. In this case, it was honestly like a bunch of guys describing their hustle. That's the end of the song.
But it's more than that. It's more like they're not just like saying like, go out and do your thing. Like they're saying like, rhyme is paying more than drugs these days. Like maybe you should do that. Like instead of selling drugs and like so like they're kind of giving like a positive message, but they're still at the same time they're saying that they're hustling too. And it's like, it's more like the legal side of the hustle. Like he wants people to, he doesn't want people.
I found it a little boring compared to like the subject matter personally.
I found this song to be amazing. I liked everything about it.
I get what you're saying. I see it now in hindsight, but at the end of the day, okay, I get it. It's still a 4 on 5 to me. It's not like over the top. The chorus isn't engaging. It isn't like it just to me it wasn't. It didn't have the same luster and shininess and quality message as the rest of them.
I think that's why I liked it. I liked the grime. It was a little grimy for me compared to the rest of the songs on the album. I think it was a little bit more grimier, but I think that was the point of it. I liked how they're trying to show that like it's grimy on the streets, but it's also grimy on the business. Like I think it's Slim who addresses it, or maybe even Fat Lip, but he goes, we used to do crimes, but now the rhyme pays, so we stopped it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they're still having that griminess because it's like it doesn't mean I'm not hustling. It doesn't mean I'm not staying true to what I know. I'm just doing it at a different level,
Which
because people want more money than they deserve.
I've heard on like everybody else's fucking album.
Right.
So that's, I guess, my point, is where a lot of this album has hit me in a way where it's not messages I've heard, or at least done in a way that's different. Even the way you guys are describing is basically half a Reasonable Doubt and a few other things. Like, it's not... And maybe that came after, and maybe others were inspired by this, or maybe the timeline is all wonky, but it just feels like this one, distinct, like, content-wise, wasn't as distinct. It felt like their take on it. It was the first time I felt like it was really their take on a classic song idea without that little hook like the Posse Cut had and a few things to really make it next level. So, whatever. You guys are probably right, and I'm wrong on this. I don't really care.
I gave this one a 3.5.
I give it a 4. It's a 4 for me. So, Lil D's next, yo.
Yep.
Step to the microphone, I put my soul on too much reels that I don't even own.
So they got one of their 6-year-old kids up in there just saying
I think it
ridiculous
was
shit.
Swab's kid?
Maybe. And then he's like saying shit like, yo, your kid don't know what to do with that shit. And he's like, yo, I fuck in front of my kid. I show him what's up. It's like, yo, Lil D got the Lil D. Well, he did say it. You can say it.
I know he said it, but I'm like,
mean,
why would you lie? Why? You're taking the innocence from these little kids.
I don't know how to interpret this. I guess it's supposed to be like they thought it was really funny or something and they threw it on here. To me, this is just like a strange... I can't justify this one. This is a 3.5. I don't get it. I mean, it made me laugh, so it does get some points. Because who doesn't like hearing kids say ridiculous shit?
That they're swearing and like
Love
teaching
it.
them how to like pick up women.
Weird.
And just like...
Well, to be fair, don't kill me.
Oh boy. Just say it.
Where like what?
It's at what age, dude? This is too young.
It's not about what age. Just
That's what we're saying.
Hold on. What is he saying?
I don't even want to go there anymore.
Do it.
No.
You know what? What'd you give it?
Like I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's not, I thought it was cute. I thought that they're letting their
there's no life.
Suave's letting his kid be in the booth. It's nice. It's quirky.
It's kind
but
of.
I think it's also kind of like representing like this is my kid. This is my life, and this is how I grew up as a kid, and this is what I got to do as a kid.
You're probably
like I mean, there was a recording of me as a little kid, like, and my sisters were like bullying me kind of, and like they promised they weren't gonna show my mom, and they made a tape of me swearing, and I got in big trouble for it. I'm pretty sure I had like soap in the mouth. Yeah, but I think this kid needs soap in the mouth.
Yeah, but this kid's daddy's making money. I think
the mommy of this kid is gonna put soap in.
I don't think
Suave's
that's gonna
mouth.
happen.
Yeah, okay.
Next up is Devil Music.
I gave this a 2.
Next up is Devil Music.
Yeah.
And that's why soon everything will be dead. And red is the color of the blood that's spilling in.
I like this track.
Yep.
Like they're just calling out the industry for what it is, really.
Again.
They're being real about it.
But this one is a little bit different, I feel like.
Well, they were basically...
They kind of are like, I had to sell my soul to the devil to get into this opportunity. And now that we're here, we're dealing with like the consequences of it now, as they're like realizing that they don't have the same kind of control over their music. And then I really like this line. I witnessed Indian Joe getting tricked out this nation by a silly hillbilly who laughed as this shit happened. Everything's the same. The game continued into rapping. Then another one that really struck me was I was Poe, black and broke beyond a shadow of a doubt, ass out, wide open, waiting for the shit to come out, speaking about the time before I got signed. And it's just showing how, like, these record labels are capitalizing on the young, youthful minds, etc., whatever. But the way they deliver it and the way they made this connection to, like, signing their soul to the devil, none of it might be original ideas. I mean, there's that, like, classic song of selling your soul to the devil, blah, blah, blah. But the way they did it also was really refreshing, and I can't say I've heard a lot of tracks approach it quite like this. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really enthralling. For me, this track ends up with a serious 4.5 on 5. I have a lot more to say. The beats are pretty fucking consistent the whole way through. If you like one, you're going to like most of them. Go on.
I enjoyed this beat very much. I enjoyed the message behind it, and I like how they presented it in terms of making people understand that, like, just because you hear a song and my name's on it doesn't mean it's my song. Doesn't mean that I wanted to say this. Doesn't mean I want to represent this.
That's the always like whatever I say is lost to 2-inch tapes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool how they throw in these little call outs, because I've always thought of that myself when I listen to songs on the radio. This is before I knew about the music business. When I listen to songs on the radio, I would be like, oh, you know, this and this, this and this. And then I started questioning, like, did you really want to say that? Is this on the radio because you wanted it to be? Like, what is the process? And then you learn and you find out that half the music you make isn't even yours.
Well, I mean...
Music is taking his soul.
That's a very interesting simplification of it, but... Yes, I feel like it's more at the loss of soul. Like, they had to give up their soul to get to this position, but they also wanted it so bad.
Maybe you or Bonnie can also help me out. How do you get away with making a song like that if you're part of a record label? Like, how are you going to call out your record label while you're signed to them and they're not going to say anything?
If the record label thinks it's going to sell, they didn't call it their record label.
Yeah.
They called out the last record label, right?
Anyways,
Okay.
They just want to make money. That's
Okay, I get you. I
anyway,
get you.
4.5.
4.5.
Beautiful song.
all. 4.
4? Why? No? Okay, it's okay.
Because consistently this album has been a 4 for the songs that I like.
Anyway, that leaves us with one more, and it's the E.N.D.
About is sky falling, you're falling way out of control, and you ain't.
I feel like this title is kind of a play on words here, because it's like the E.N.D. of the album plus, you know, potentially the E.N.D. of their negativity experiences. Like, it's almost like they're waking up and they're just dreaming of this like vision where people can just choose to live better. And if you think about it, the consistent theme of this album was like live better, right?
Yeah. Like, it's the end of this album, and like they think that, like, you know, like everything's going to be dead and everyone's going to be dead soon, so you might as well just enjoy it and appreciate life while you have it.
But I feel like
you should just be
within
lucky.
that, there is this desire that maybe people will choose to be better and choose to live differently.
Yeah, he wants
right?
people
Like,
to make changes before it's too late.
Yeah,
because you're
'cause
only
that's
here
what I'm
for a
saying.
short time.
I see both y'all points.
I think that they're tied together. One
I
leads
think
to
both
the
y'all
other.
points are tied together, because I got a little bit of like we're going up to heaven type feel. Like, this is the end. We're soaring up into the sky. That whole thing, and I was like, cute. The end of the album. You want to leave us on this little happy trail. I get you.
Sort of
final message.
woeful warning.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. You've got this album where they've kind of contextualized a lot of things. There's this consistent tone of a lot of it is messaging that needs to change, choices that need to change, and they just kind of are tying it up here. I feel like it's a fitting end to the album. I feel like the chorus was a little annoying.
I like the jazziness to this one. Like, there was a bit more.
I hated the E.N.D. I mean, maybe it's cool or whatever. It just kind of grinded my gears a little bit.
It's the only way they could. You can't really just say end. Like, that would have been too short for the beat and the whole structure.
Whatever. I gave it a 4. I'm not hating too much. I enjoyed the song. It doesn't like. It's kind of good. It's a great end to this album, and the chorus bothered me more than normal, so it lost a couple more points than the other ones.
Fair enough.
I also gave it a 4.
Yeah, so did I.
Sorry if this is a little shorter. It's just that let's talk a little bit about this album. This album is a really consistent experience, which is,
Yes,
I guess,
for the
to
most
its
part,
credit and its detriment, depending on how you approach it. But when I first got through it, it made me think of the limited experience I've had with Souls of Mischief, which I imagine is probably around this area, this time. So if you guys know about them, then you know what's up. And it makes me want to go explore a few other acts that I believe that we're going to have to cover on this channel. And I'm really happy that we did this album. I gave it a 4.29. I think it's fucking strong. The lyricism insane. Like, I can't believe I've never listened to Jay Dilla before. I always wrote him off as just another guy who sounded like that. No, guy managed to make magic happen. So that part alone made me really excited. I feel like it's kind of sad that this isn't more prevalent or well known in 2017 as maybe it is. Like, I imagine that the view count on this video is going to be less than maybe some of the other people, which is fine.
Because I find that, like, they have the sound of a lot of other people.
Okay.
And, like, that's, you know, it's not like they chose, like, one person to, like, be their idol or, like, be inspiration or whatever. Like, there's a lot of people that they kind of sound... Like, for me, like, I know it's going to sound so, like, generic and whatever, but, like, they sound kind of like a mix of, like, Outkast and like Blackstreet and like that kind of stuff
guys
from like
came after them. Though.
Yeah, no, I know, I understand that. And like not as like obviously like uppity as like Outkast and like not as mainstream as like Blackstreet, but they definitely sounded something and like they're obviously inspired by like Beastie Boys and De La Soul and like they have they had Jizza and somebody else featured or like produced one of those songs.
Dilla.
So who?
No, Jizza?
Jizza.
Like from the Wu-Tang?
Yeah, so they had some Wu-Tang influence, and like so like there was a lot going on. Like there's a lot of, I mean, as consistent as it is, it's sort of like a little bit of everyone's sound together.
Well, they did, like, when you're talking about different sounds, like I said, they did sample a lot of people's albums and tracks to make the different instrumentals. So when you say that you hear different sounds, it's funny that you say Outkast, because clearly if you're hearing Outkast, it's like maybe Outkast kind of came after these guys, so they got inspired, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they both kind of have inspired by the same things, like the
even like
Isley
Snoop
Brothers.
Dogg, like some of like the writing was
I'm not trying to say
Like I'm saying, they all kind of come from that same funk soul roots. Ultimately.
Right, so they're going to sound somewhat the same because that's kind of what
as far
that
as
sound
the
is.
rapping style, like I mean, to me it sounds very West Coast in terms of like those fasty guys, more like the same kind of world Delta Funky Homo Sapiens coming from, and like I guess Hieroglyphics is that group, and so it's kind of got more of that feel, if anything, to me. Like they're part of this scene of guys who all like there's a whole bunch of acts in that world. I don't know what the right name for it is, but yeah.
Yeah, I think these guys were cool dancers. I'm gonna say that much for them too.
So what'd you give the album?
Overall, I gave it a 3.47, so that is a 69%.
Nice. My grade came down to a 4, right on the spot. It honestly, it was a little tricky to get through this album for me. They are very intellectual, and they know how to really convey certain messages that maybe I need to take time to just go back and kind of analyze it a little bit more.
Cool.
So.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you all for watching this. We appreciate it for real. If you did enjoy the video, please like it, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends about us, let us know what albums you care about us reviewing in the future. Keep in mind it could take a long time for us to deliver on that request.
We're gonna get there.
But we are gonna get there.
If you want to holler at us, hit show more in the descriptions on our contact information. And on that note, we'll catch you next week with another review.
Peace, guys.